Alright, I'm going to talk a little bit about my thoughts on the burst tier weapons, the limited stuff, how the new challenge quest is coming along, my thoughts on it whatsoever. Basically, for those who somehow hasn't been keeping up with the news, we got a new weapon tier we basically got two new weapon tiers. The first tier being the limited tier, and the second one being burst. Burst is something that's like extra at the moment, I feel, and the main focus should be the limited weapon. So a brief recap on what burst does. It's basically, it gives you a mini summon for the character. You're only gonna be able to use one per battle. So even though somehow you're insanely lucky and have 3 burst characters in one team by yourself, sometime down the line when we have more burst weapons, only one character is able to use their burst. And the burst weapon is on banner for several banners, basically. Squall's banner will have it, of course. The Garland banner coming up will have it as well. And then the Tilion thing, the Crystal Chronicle characters banner will also have Squall's burst. So you have quite a lot of chances to get it if you don't get it on the initial banner, so I think that's the purpose of it. But the focus of this current tier, I think it's on the limited weapons right here. So the limited weapon is basically, it gives you extra skill. It gives you, on top of the skill, it gives you extra passives like attack and max brave up passives. This can give, in Squall's case, he also got a unique buff, which gives him extra attack and overflow, and he also got better brave plus and HP pluses. So right now, I don't think the limited weapon is too much of a power creep just yet. Currently, I feel like the main source of a character's power is still their EX plus weapon. So if I go into my inventory and whatever, so in Squall's case, I do have all his weapons, but I don't think his damage output, even considering the limited weapon, exceeds some of the good characters we have right now. Say like if I maxed, where is he? If I actually maxed out Narsh with his free turns and whatnot, I think he's gonna be a better damage dealer than Squall and etc. And of course, Kai's, if being able to launch, is gonna be a better damage dealer than Squall and so on. So right now, I feel like for Squall, his limit weapon is just a life support, so to speak, because his EX plus is sort of outdated at this point. I feel the same thing is gonna be happening to Garland, because he does have a basic attacking kit, so the limited weapon is gonna like boost his attacking power to be more relevant to the current environment and whatnot. Garland unfortunately will not be getting a burst, so it's just a limited weapon. So currently, unless you really like the character, I don't think it's quite necessary to pull for the burst or end the limited weapon just yet. The other point I want to bring out is that limited weapons are kind of very expensive, because I don't think they provide as much power as the EX plus weapons, but they are slightly rare. Well, they have the same rarity as the EX weapons previously, but not this one here. Okay, here. But they cost the same amount to petty. I would be okay if if they either reduce the number of tokens needed for EX weapons, or make the limited weapons less rare. It just doesn't quite feel right that for the amount of power the limited weapon gives, it's cost as the same, and sometimes even more than the EX plus weapons, which will be the linchpin or the centerpiece to a main character. Like, you're not going to bring a character with 35, 15 CP and the burst weapon. I mean the limited weapon, or just a burst weapon without either of the EX plus or limited weapon. You're probably not going to do that. So that's one thing. The other thing, I guess, I have to switch out of this window for the moment. Right, that's the okay. So here's the calendar right now for November. Each event will only have one limit weapons. So in Garland's case, well, Garland's LC banner will have all 3 EXs and just one limit weapon for Garland. And then Squall's burst weapon will be on there, but none of the Squall's other weapons will be on there. So if you somehow got Squall's burst weapon on Garland's banner, but you didn't pull for his EX plus or limit weapon, that's not gonna be too good. Same thing happening with the new character here, Amidatilian. She's gonna get EX plus, limit weapon, and Squall's burst on there, on top of whatever synergy characters are on her event or his event. I'm not sure the gender. I don't think Ukes actually have genders, but whatever. So previously, each event we got 2 EX pluses. So that means for each banner we pull on, we can expect to get maybe 2 time relevant characters. But right now, like with this new tier, for each banner we are only getting 1 relevant characters. Unless somehow that, well, other than the case of like specific events like the one on the 15th tier, which will be have us 1 burst weapon and the limited weapon for 1 character, and also Alizé's rework and EX plus. So on that banner, you're gonna get the featured character for burst as well as another character that's updated for relevant content, which is Alizé. Hopefully they do her justice. Same thing happening with, well, and for Ultimecia it's slightly better because Pain will be getting EX plus there. But still, Ultimecia will require the limited weapons to be relevant again because she's not getting reworks. So if we take a look at the I almost wanted to say Producer's Life Letter because I've been playing 14 again, but this is the infiltration report. So the only character reworks for this month will be Auron, which already happened, and Alizé. And then these are the list of the characters that are getting their character reports, which means they will be on banners. So if we take a look, Sephiroth is on Garland banner as well as Warrior of Lights. So we have that, but none of them are actually, well, they don't have reworks, and Sephiroth's damage is of course falling off the board right now. Then for the first new character, we have Dual Synergy, who is basically useless at this point. She's not getting anything new. I don't think the character board is gonna save her. And then on the 15th event, we have Porum, Cryo, Eiko, Lulu, and Alizé. Right. Porum, Cryo, Eiko, Lulu, Alizé, yeah. Of them, barring Porum is sort of outdated also. Well, Alizé is gonna get reworked, but the 4 here, Lulu, Eiko, and Cryo, well, the 3 of them, actually, they are not gonna get much time to shine. Like, even in Synergy, I doubt Cryo will be able to do much. Same with Eiko. Eiko has really low max brave. And Lulu is, like, with all the other enchanters coming out that has came out the past month, I don't think Lulu is just like holding up anymore. Ultimecia is not getting rework, she's only getting character board and limited weapon. She's not getting burst either. And Pain is getting EX plus, which is nice. The second new character, which is probably Dash from FF3, the guy who jumped into the well or something, um, will be having limited weapons and EX plus. And then on banner, there's also Yan, who's not great. So, like before, I already said each banner you can expect 2 relevant characters. Now you probably only have 1 or 2. 1 most likely, and 2 if there's a character that hasn't got eaten EX plus yet. So if you're like banking on getting very lucky, or basically for every banner you're just gonna focus on one new thing, which is not great in my book. Especially considering that like the gem costs are the same for, I mean, G token costs are the same if you want to pity things. So with that said, let's move on to talking a little bit about the challenge quest. So for those who somehow haven't been following, so after you finish the chaos, after you complete a normal chaos, a challenge quest unlocks, and this challenge quest is basically the same chaos. It's tuned slightly differently, but it has a different requirement. The requirement is that you use all synergy characters. So like you use a synergy character of 3, and then for this challenge quest you also cannot use a friend character. Otherwise it's pretty similar. Like the only difference is that for this challenge quest, like there's no restrictions for weapon types and whatnot, unlike the regular quest, which is unlike the regular quest that actually has resistances and whatnot. The problem is that you have to use 3 synergy characters to meet the perfect requirement, and by doing that you get a grand total of, load faster please, thank you, 1 of these burst tokens. So burst tokens are used for, somehow I'm not sure why it doesn't display on here, but burst tokens are used to buy burst weapons, and you need 50 of them to get it. You can also sell a burst weapon dupe for 5 tokens, but it's gonna take a while if you're just relying on burst tokens alone to actually get a free burst weapon, so don't rely on that. So back to the problem at hand is that you have to use 3 synergy characters. Basically you have to use the full synergy team. People have already like discussed about this. You basically, and for this one specifically, you kind of need cashier. So on this account here, it's kind of funny. I have full Squall, I have Tifa, I actually have Steiner from quite a while ago. I also do have Gilgamesh, so I have all the synergy except for Ketchi. But this fight is extremely HP damage heavy, and while some people have actually done this without synergy, I mean not without synergy, you can without Ketchi for healing and just relying on Alexander for healing. For me, I don't think it's worth the trouble. I'm fine with just missing 100 gems and 1 burst token, because I don't feel like burst is very necessary at the moment. Of course, it's a bad taste that you have to swallow 125k gems to pity one if it comes to it, but I have come to accept that it's not too necessary, because even with Squall's burst, I'm not really sure where I'm fitting him into my teams for smaller stuff. Well, you can and then it goes back to the thing that's showcasing characters. Like Squall doesn't really have the gimmick handling capabilities for Trey event, so you're gonna have to work around that and just have him do damage. And then for any other event, his damage output is quite a bit beyond them. Same as Trey. Like if you take any of the recent characters and take him to like a few past LCs, they're just gonna dominate. So that's part of the reason why I didn't really go about recording videos with them. What else? Right, the other thing is, on top of the fact that we have this burst weapon right now and limited weapon right now, they also said that a new difficulty tier is coming on anniversary, which is next February. So the way I look at it is like, so you have two sides of the coin here. So any character released from now till the end of January is probably not going to have the power level required for the next tier. Assuming that the next tier probably have damage requirement requiring the burst, as well as having the extra stat passives of the limited weapons. So I'm not sure about polling for anything from now till then. But the other side of the coin is that any characters that you pull from now till February is probably going to be relevant from now to February, because there isn't going to be a huge power creep until then. Granted, like we only have the sample size of one burst and one limited weapon right now, so I could very well be very wrong about this, but that's how I'm gonna look at it. So I either pull and just like expect it to be useful for the while until the next tier comes, or I just save it and don't pull. Alright, also there's this mock pass thing, which is basically, it actually gives you more character enhance points, more summon board points and wild points and whatnot. So with the lower tier one, you just get the point up effect, and for the higher tier one, you get more gems, and then you get the Moogle medals, which can be used to trade in for several things. Speaking of which, I should probably mention that with the daily medal things, there's the new addition of the EX Power medal, which can be used to trade in for any, like by any I mean like any and every EX weapon that's available there. So it's sort of a good deal. Yeah. Which kind of bums you out if you actually pity some EX weapons before then. But yeah, that's sort of my thoughts right now. So for a quick recap, I don't think the limited weapons and burst weapons are too necessary for Chaos right now. They are probably going to be necessary for the next tier, but you can worry about it when the next tier comes in February. I'm not a fan of how the banners are looking with just one limited weapons, which means you only get one relevant character per banner, which is not great, unless they're getting a reworked EX Plus, which there isn't a lot of. There's also the problem of the burst challenge cost, which is, well, just borderline absurd. And I'm not gonna waste my effort and time to just like scratch my head doing it. Even though I have quite a bit of synergy character on this account, I don't have cat cheese, so I have to rely a lot on RNG to win this and whatnot. So I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm just gonna pretend that it doesn't exist. I'm just gonna get like a 400 gem and 3 tickets out of it, which is not bad. And yeah, that's probably gonna be it for this one.